And this game is on, I think, was it on the Switch that you got this code for?
Yes.
Okay. And it's called Hatch Tales. And it's by
Yes.
Atooi.
Yes. Bless you. So, yeah, Hatch Tales, a game that I didn't necessarily know anything about beforehand, but we were offered a code, so jumped at the opportunity. I'm a big character action platformer guy, so as you're seeing if you're watching the video, Hatch Tales, side-scrolling action platformer. It's funny that we mentioned Yoshi's Story. It's really the, I guess, closest thing I would compare it to, other than you're not trying to save a child, obviously. But there are power-ups in the stages that affect the way that, not really the way you look, but the way that you move through the stage and, you know, achieve different goals, basically. So yeah, it's very interesting. First of all, there is a lot of game here.
Really?
Sort of broken up in the same sort of Mario style, like World 1-1, 2-1, whatever, stuff like that. And there is quite an amount of worlds. I've played for a few hours now, and I wouldn't even say that I'm like 3/4 of the way through. It's like quite involved. A lot of stages to get through, but a lot of like fun different puzzles. The base mechanic is a jump and a hook shot. The hook shot moves about like 4 or 5 squares, and it's basically just your routes are sort of planned out through the stages. There's 100 of these sort of like diamond coin things that you're trying to achieve or trying to acquire throughout the stage. And then stages also have these other tokens that sort of look like a flame symbol. And there's a different assortment of them throughout there. And then there's a couple of stages. As you mentioned, this is developed by Atooi. They also made games like Pounds. And there's a couple of like sort of reference stages and call outs to those games as well. So yeah, pretty interesting. It is a fun game. The levels are pretty challenging to get through. Good mixture of both challenge and difficulty, while also having like a sort of easier path to get through. So if you're not looking to collect all the collectibles throughout the stage, and there's a lot of it. There is an incredible amount to play. Plays great on the Switch. The perfect sort of like portable game. And if you're noticing with the art, it is kind of looking like a mobile game. And that's where I'm going to say is like my experience of playing it stops. All right. And now we're transition into a little bit more interesting things about Hatch Tales. Because I, to kind of give as much background information and facts as I can while we're talking about games here. I did a little research because I hadn't known anything about the game. Also needed to know what the price is. It's $20. And I only bring that up because this game was a Kickstarter game. It's my understanding. And it was kickstarted 6 years ago. And it was supposed to come out then, that year. It's my understanding. This is also a semi-remake and relaunch of a game called Wing Tales, I think it was. It was a 3D or a DS game. And it was backed. It took a while to come out, but here it is.
Chicken Wiggle. Was it Chicken Wiggle?
Chicken Wiggle, yes, thank you.
Chicken Wiggle.
And it's interesting because there's the art is simplistic. But it's fitting for the game. And it works, it's in service. It works well. It's not like the art lies to you that your character is actually like 3 spaces off or something like that. But at the same time, for 6 years, and it seems like there wasn't a bunch of updates. It maybe is a little simplistic. Kind of just looks like a mobile game.
It definitely looks like a character design from a game from 6 years ago. So that it makes sense now.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's like I can't at all tell you that you should support that sort of behavior from a developer. I would, maybe do your own research on that. But as the experience of playing it, my only complaint is the art style is pretty simplistic, but otherwise it's a very fun game.
The character
Everything looks really big on the screen.
Yeah.
It's that mobile standpoint.
Yes, and I think that's the thing.
3DS size, yeah.
Is presentation wise, it looks like you are playing like some like Switch shovelware that that has found its way, had found its way from the iOS store and is now on Switch for $20, and you're like, oh. But then, like, as playing it, like, as somebody who didn't know the price while I was playing it, like, it is a very like good game. It's certainly not going to be up there with the likes of Super Mario Wonder, or even like, a 3D game like the Sonic Generations that just came out. But what's here is a very good package. I think it's your good secondary game, or if you're like waiting for your next like sort of action platformer, if you're more of an indie action platformer and you've played that big catch game this year.
Sort of palate cleansing is what you're saying. It's
yeah,
like
it's not every game needs to look like super 4K mind blowing graphics. He doesn't have to have every individual feather flapping.
Is he
around
done in Unreal Engine 5? I mean, I'd really want to know.
I actually don't. I think it's in Unity. I think the Unity logo comes out, but I'm not quite sure. But,
where's the realism in this?
Yeah. And I didn't experience any problems while playing it. Like, the controls are super tight. The only sort of performance hitch I saw is the like initial like sort of story video that didn't load very well, which is interesting because on their YouTube channel they have like the story trailer like 4K or like a 1080p 60. Which is something that I don't feel like you need to call out on YouTube anymore unless there's a question of whether that is actually what I'm witnessing. So I don't know on that. But I honestly would suggest this if you're looking for a 2D platformer, and again you don't want to, you've played your Mario Wonders, you've played those sort of like 2D games, 2D action character platformers that have come out recently. Like, you got $20. Catch it on a sale. The Kickstarter went okay, and they were obviously able to develop it and get it out after that amount of time. So I'm sure they need to charge that $20, so maybe it won't go on sale anytime soon. But hey, if it does, grab it.